We are here at Camp Perry, Ohio for the 2014 national matches, and I'm here with Sergeant Major Berenson of the Army Reserve Marksmanship Program. Sergeant Major, today we shot ITT. It's one of the big team matches for the CMP events. Can you give us a breakdown on what that is?
Sure, you bet. The ITT, or Infantry Trophy Team Match, is one of the big national trophies that are in competition every year. The service teams really want to do well and win that infantry trophy for their service. And so the ITT is a team match fired from 600, 500, and 300 yards. Each six-man team is given 384 rounds to expend downrange, and it's up to the team to determine how the distribution of that ammo goes amongst the different team members. Some teams will shoot more rounds at 600 yards and less at 5, or vice versa. There's all kinds of strategies that can go on when they're preparing for the match. The match in general is essentially an E-type silhouette, and you're laying in the prone position, and what most teams do as a general load plan is up to 40 rounds fired in a time limit of 50 seconds. And that would include a magazine change. And so if you start looking at the pace of that, it's usually one shot per second, or a little bit plus or minus from that, and that's from 600 yards on an E-type silhouette that you would normally find on a pop-up range. And the winning teams usually have 95+% accuracy, and so it's very precision. It's really something to see.
Even at that pace, you're still having 95% hits or better.
Roger, with the training that the teams go through, it's really quite a sight to see. And all of those accurate rounds going down range.
Now, you said about the different yard lines. You start at 600 and go up to the 5. Those two stages are shot prone. By the time you get to 300, you have to shoot from the sitting position. And you said the breakdown is going to be based on shooting more or less rounds. How is that scored? Because you have a six-man team shooting. Mm-hmm. There's 8 targets the team is shooting total. How do you break down what yard line and how many shots per person, and how do you do as far as scoring and all that?
Right. The way it works with the 8 targets and 6 team members, we usually have our outside shooters fire at 2 targets each, and so we get a coverage on all 8 targets. The reason that's beneficial is for every target that has at least 6 hits, you are able to do get a bonus, so to speak. To where that you take the number of targets that have 6 or more hits, and you can square that number. If you have 6 targets that meet that threshold of 6 hits, you can square those 6 targets, and you get a bonus of 36 points. Okay. And so there's an advantage. You want to make sure you have good coverage on all 8 of your targets, and it's designed essentially as a fire team. Engaging 8 of the enemy downrange, and so that's where the strategy comes into it. Most of the teams generally like to expend all of their ammunition at 600 and 500 yards. That's not always the case, because sometimes you'll have rounds left over. People, whatever takes place, and they'll move down to the 300-yard line and expend the remainder there. And some of the teams will even go forward to the 200-yard line where they can shoot, and that's in the standing position, if need be, if you haven't expended all of your 384 rounds.
Okay, now you mentioned squaring the targets. Every target has to get a minimum of 6 hits.
Yes.
And then you multiply that. Now, is that based on the yard line as far as the points per hit? Because you get points for the hits too, correct?
That is correct. The squaring is the same on every yard line. If you hit 6 hits on all 8 targets all the way down, you'll have a bonus of 64 points at each one of the yard lines. However, the point hit value is different. At 600 yards are worth 4 points, and at 500 yards, each hit's worth 3 points, and at 300 yards, they're worth 2 points.
So there's advantages to try and shooting this. Keep getting all your shots off at the 6 and the 500 yard line.
There is a distinct advantage there because you're getting another 25% more points, or however it works out to be. But the important thing is you want to. The ultimate goal is 100% hits, and if that means sometimes the wind conditions here, the weather conditions are very severe. 25 mile an hour winds, and so you have to factor in all of the wind changes, and so sometimes people will be very conservative at longer ranges at 600 and go really heavy at the 500 yard line. Today the conditions were pretty calm, so we went really heavy at 600 and then a little bit lighter at 5.
So that strategy will then vary not only based on how the scoring is done, but based on your ability or perceived ability for the entire team to maintain that high percentage of hits as well.
Absolutely. What you're going for is percentage of hits. If you put a round down range and it does not touch or hit the silhouette, then you get no value whatsoever. So we're going for hits. And if it means being a little bit more conservative at the further ranges, then sometimes that's the strategy that factors into it.
Because you don't get any points unless you get the hits on silhouette. So, all right. Well, thanks, Sergeant Major.
You're welcome.